Hi everyone, welcome to Nephio Webinar R6 and Beyond 2025. Here I am Sana Tariq for the Workgroup 6 update, that is Nephio and GenAI. We started this Workgroup 6 a couple of years ago and we have significant progress in the work group. We published a white paper, we have a community working on use cases, and today here we are presenting the Workgroup 6 updates. I'm Sana Tariq, Principal Architect. I'm serving as Nephio TSC Chair and also SIG Architecture Vice Chair. With me in this session, Eddie Fung, who's a Senior Architect at TELUS, will also be presenting, who's also leading Workgroup 5, and he is actively contributing to the user stories in Workgroup 6 on GenAI. So what do we expect from GenAI and Nephio and this work group? We have an excellent paper published that is basically attached in the last slide for you to review, and a lot of active user stories that we will walk through. But opportunities that exist for the GenAI and Nephio work groups, we have identified that some interesting use cases on the GenAI would be template generation. We looked into creation of CRDs, we looked into Tosca, we looked at QRM generation of templates. And the second most important part that is actually very aligned with the Nephio's Porch and GitOps principles is basically the dynamic hydration of those templates, which could also be done with our GenAI pipelines, which is another active story. GenAI-based SDKs and API creation has been looked into. On the other hand side, we have some Nephio and GenAI opportunities that are more focused towards the longer term use cases. For example, we can achieve cloud optimization and we can explore the GenAI work in the 5G core, RAN, and edge for optimization, efficiencies, and reliability. Another interesting use case that operators and enterprises could actually leverage is network operations and using GenAI for anomaly detection, troubleshooting, agentic AI, and MCP, which is, of course, on the radar. So together with these two different sets of use cases, one is enhancing the user experience and how we work with Nephio as an open source project, and the other one is how we enable GenAI and Nephio to improve the operational aspects of our network. So a quick introduction of how we are approaching the RAG pipelines within Nephio user stories. As we learned over the years of working with the GenAI, contextualization is extremely important. In the context of developing a RAG pipeline, our context data in this case could be code repo, config files, and the network and troubleshooting performance data. So as you discovered through various discussions of the webinar, we are constantly working on our Workgroup 5 for improving our access to the troubleshooting and performance data all through cloud native constructs. We are working on config files and Git repo, and we are using all the CI/CD, Porch, and GitOps ecosystem for that. That is currently our information source. And a classical example of RAG is a first user story that we would like to implement in our future releases. And as we are working towards that, we'll continue to post updates and continue to add more information around that. One of the ideas that is actually a forward-looking idea we wanted to share with the broader community, that there is a lot of interest around autonomous networks, and there is a lot of interest around enabling network slicing. And the ideas around autonomous networks are hard to decompose at the pragmatic implementation layer, but Nephio has attempted to kind of decompose that and associate that with our underlying principles of GitOps and CRDs and operators, and help you realize how do we achieve the vision of autonomous networks within the Nephio principles. So if you imagine that you have to develop a network slice with an intent of maybe 100 megabits per second and latency below 20 milliseconds, now this is a high-level intent. And how we break this intent into the lower levels. The next layer of intent would be to deploy a 5G core with this and supporting a capacity of, for example, 10 million concurrent sessions and integrate that with ORAN. Now, breaking this intent further down at Nephio level, we would say deploy 5G core CNFs and configure them. Now, this is an intent that can be easily realized with Nephio. Nephio is going to implement the CRDs and operators, and it has to basically trigger an infinite closed loop through its operators and CRDs constructs to enable meeting that particular state of autonomy and control within our GitOps principles. So Eventually, our goal would be that we start to replace some of these intents with the GenAI to kind of enable us. So the custom resource ideal state, that drift management can happen with GenAI. The reconciliation of the operators themselves can be written with the GenAI. Identification of the current state can be managed with GenAI through our observability tools and notifying the drift in the actual state and desired state. So over a period of time, the beauty of using our agentic AI systems and our intent-based automation can actually realize a fully autonomous system where we could observe the state, manage drift, write CRDs, write operators, and be able to deliver the higher level goals through an agentic AI core. I think that's a match made in heaven, where we want to show that how Nephio's underlying automation principles are really supportive of this intent-based vision, and it's kind of a match made in heaven. And this is at the very foundational level how we can actually start to support the autonomy of the network, starting from a lower level goal over to the higher level intents, and how we can continue to evolve around that, and how these principles are very closely aligned and supportive of the GenAI-based autonomous networks. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Eddie to help us walk through some of the community user stories development and how we have made progress so far. Over to you, Eddie.
Yeah, thank you, Sana. Hi, everyone. So I'll be going over from a very high level our user story and our progress within Workgroup 6. So we have about 4 user stories that we've consolidated over the course of the work group. So what we're looking for to do is to develop features for automatically generating Nephio configuration from natural language intent as our first use case. In our second use case, what we want to do is leverage large language models, which will help automate some of the change request equations. We want to leverage those patterns from similar deployments. And by leveraging those patterns and large language model, our goal is to deploy a much faster and more accurate onboarding of the network functions that resides on top of Nephio. Secondly, we also want to look at AI hydration services that incorporates more of a closed loop learning. This learning actually will be knowledge that we gather from Git and runtime data that we are constantly monitoring and continuously improving the configuration that's being generated as well. Lastly, we want to look at the future AI hydration concept as well. We will want to look at the context and the topology awareness to create those dynamic configurations of a changing network function environment. So if there are any kind of configuration drift, it's able to learn and react to the certain configuration drift that can be tailored to those specific environments servicing those network functions. So these are generally, from a high level, the use cases that we are looking to target as part of our Workgroup 6 initiative as well. So that's all I have to cover. Sana, back to you.
Thank you so much, Eddie. That's an excellent progress on the Workgroup 6. We would like the community to stay engaged and connected with us. Please continue to watch out for all these additional videos across different work groups, and I'm happy to connect with you again on another short video of Nephio Webinar Series. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.